So let's talk about this myth. So if we say that we need to walk our dogs every single day because they need the physical exercise, we can see the flaw in that already. Physical exercise comes in so many different forms. We can always take our dog to an off-leash park, have a game of chase in the backyard, even a tug-of-war game or a game of fetch. Our dog's still expending energy in a physical way. But unlike physical exercise, it's actually mental exercise that our dogs need every single day. And we can understand that if we miss taking our dogs for a walk 1 day or 2 days, it might be raining, we're too busy, we've got other things on, we don't feel like it, then there's not going to be too many detrimental effects to our dog. But if we don't provide our dogs with mental exercise, we can see things like boredom, frustration, anxiety, and social and behavioural issues arising from that. So it's so important that you understand that it's the mental exercise that our dogs need. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't be taking our dogs for a walk, but it's also very important that we are also providing our dogs with a quality of exercise when we're taking them for a walk. And unfortunately, the reality for dogs is very different from that. So what we think might be really great for our dogs, we're actually just going through the motions. If our dog turns their head away to have a sniff or investigate something, you know, I've seen so many times where the humans will jerk the dog's neck. You know, they'll be walking a little dog, they'll be walking in front of the dog and pulling the dog on the leash, and they're not really looking at their dogs, being with their dogs and providing a quality of exercise, physical exercise for them with respect to on-leash walking. And also, you know, just stop and let your dogs have a sniff. Let them investigate, let them just stand there and just take a nice deep breath and flare their nostrils and really just enjoy all of the olfactory goodies and the scents and the smells of the environment around them. I mean, if we really want to provide something that they need every day, it's the ability for them to be able to perform their instinctive behaviours of sniffing and investigating, foraging, exploring, and also the behaviours that they prefer to do. And the only way to find that out is to actually observe your dog in everyday situations. Just watch them doing their thing. So for dogs, being on leash, walking on leash, can also be so very unenjoyable and unrewarding and unfulfilling. And a number of images come to mind that I've seen. I've seen dogs on very tight leashes with head collars and halty collars. They're unable to turn their heads. They're walked on a tight leash next to a pram, a person's pushing a pram. I mean, this sort of exercise isn't very nice for dogs. And so when we're thinking that we're actually doing the right thing for dogs by providing them with some physical exercise, it's so much nicer and so much better for our dogs' mental health and physical health and well-being to actually provide something that has some quality from our dog's perspective. So from our dog's perspective, we also have to understand that not every dog actually likes being walked on leash. And if you have a couple of dogs or a few dogs and you're trying to walk them all at once, and one dog just isn't wanting to walk, maybe putting their bottom on the ground, well then, you know, that sort of environment and that sort of exercise isn't, you know, going to be beneficial or rewarding for that dog. So it would be much better to walk that dog on their own if they do indeed like being walked, or actually do something that that dog actually prefers to do. So thinking that we have to walk our dogs every single day just because they need the exercise and thinking that it has to be on leash can actually be counterproductive depending on your dog's personality, your dog's confidence levels, and also how they react and perceive their environment when they're on walks. If you have a dog that's actually reacting to other dogs on leash, then once again, the physical exercise that should be provided for that dog in that case should be something that is in a situation and environment where there won't be any conflict, and it's going to be a pleasant experience for that dog. So it's also important to understand that sometimes your dog might actually like going for a walk, and if your dog comes up to you when they see the lead, or if you're walking within five, half a metre of the lead, walking past the lead and they're actually over there to you, well, that's great. But it's also so much more beneficial for dogs if we let them lead the way when they're out on their walk. And let them have a good sniff, let them have a good exploration, let them just sniff what's going on around them, and just take your time and let your dog have a walk. So you'll still be getting some physical exercise, but it's actually the mental exercise of that activity that is going to be so much beneficial for your dog, because their instinctive behaviours, the behaviours that they need to perform because they were genetically inherited, we're actually letting them perform those behaviours. And so we can then turn something that might have been a mundane, going through the motions, I have to take the dog for a walk, it turns into something that actually reconnects you and your dog and provides a rewarding and fulfilling experience, not just for your dog, but also you. And that's probably the biggest point about this myth that I think should be raised, is that thinking that you have to walk your dog every day can turn it into a chore and can turn it into having resentment for the activity itself. And then that's when the dog gets dragged as an afterthought. We have to go out, we want to go for a walk, so take the dog with us, but the dog doesn't actually get to do anything that is rewarding or fulfilling from their perspective. So I'd probably say that if there was one thing that you could take away from this video, it would be just to start looking at your dog's life from their perspective.